I guess we could pull that back. See, we could pull that back, maybe get it back over here away from everything. Yeah, I think we'll leave it alone. Yep. All right, I cleaned up my head. So we're ready to put the intake back on. Before we do that though, we gotta take a rag. You see these little holes right here? We gotta clean those holes out because that's where our injector goes in. You don't want to spray anything in there. You just want to take a rag and just kind of wipe out the hole. If you have to throw anything down in that, throw some throttle body cleaner down in there. Just kind of clean it out a little bit. Don't use brake clean. One of the few times you can't use brake clean. But we'll give it a spritz. Nope. Just take your rag and just kind of wipe it out real quick here. There we go. Got that all cleaned up. Let's go ahead and install our fuel rail. Alright, before we install our fuel rail, we got to hook up our connector to our sensor. So we'll snap that down on there, push your security clip back down on top of it, like that. We didn't unplug none of the injectors, so we're good to go there. Give these injectors a quick wipe off with the rag. You don't have to go crazy with it, just like this. Just kind of wipe the dirt off. I don't think we need new rubbers, although those tips do look really good now. This thing probably will run better being we did that. All right, sit your rail down. Got to go this way with it. Set your rail down. Line up your holes and just slide it back in place. Don't force it. Push it down until it stops. And then take your wire and just kind of set it over here above your radiator hose, because it's going to have to go back on your fuel rail. Or your, we'll just set it over there for right now. Alright, then we get our bolts in. We didn't have any shinies come out, so we just got to just set these down in here like this. We'll zip these down in here real quick and we'll 10 foot-pounds I think should sound pretty good to this. There's no torque spec for the fuel rail, so we're just gonna torque them down to 10 foot-pounds. That should be enough to hold this in place. And then we'll get our intake installed. Now if you want to break this down into inch-pounds, you can do that. I'm not going to take the time to break down the inch-pounds. Largely in part, I don't have a 13mm socket from a quarter drive torque wrench. So that's inch-pounds, it's quarter drive. Get these down nice and snug. And then I'll go get my torque wrench. We'll set it to 10 foot-pounds. We'll torque these down. And then that'll be done, and then we can get our intake installed. So I'll be right back. Okay, here we go. So my torque wrench will go down to 10 pounds. So anything under 10 pounds, well actually I think it says 5 pounds. So we might be all right. We'll just start over here and we'll just, there's that one. And we'll come over here and we'll get this one. And we'll come in here and we'll snug this one down. £10 really isn't that much. Alright. So we'll set this to 7. Let's see, there's 5, 6, 7. We'll go ahead and do 7.5. Believe it or not, that's what 7.5 foot-pounds looks like. Right there, 7.5 foot-pounds. It's crazy, but that's what it recommends. So let's go grab our intake, put our intake back on. You want to check this box right here. Make sure that box didn't get broke when you pulled it out. Our box is fine, so we're ready to reinstall. Make sure you get all your wiring out of the way. And then this should fall down in there since it came out pretty easily. I might have to move you out of the way so we can get this in here. So we're going to set you over here so you can watch the action from the side. I don't know why there's oil on it, but alright, you gotta watch your fuel line electrical down here too, so you gotta just kind of guide this down past the fuel rail like this. It goes back on a lot easier than it came off, I will tell you that much. And then you need to line up your, gotta pull your shroud back here so you can see what you're doing. Line it up on the bolt holes and slide it back down on. Went together a whole lot easier than it came apart. And then you had 2 bolts with keepers on them. You need to put those in first since we don't want to get those mixed up with the other ones. So our first keeper bolt went down in this corner, so we'll throw that one down and that one down in there. And then this one came out of this hole down here. So now we're gonna get our tool. And it says on the service information to start from the middle and work your way out. And then on step 2, in no particular order, randomly go back over the bolts. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work, but we'll figure it out when we get there. Don't forget this corner bolt over here, this one right here that you can't see. That's a stud for the high pressure fuel pump. You want to get your corners in like that, and then we can just start throwing bolts back at it. Get your 2 13mm nuts up here on these 2 studs up here. Just thumb them down. You don't have to tighten them up right now, just thumb them down. We're going to go through and tighten them all up once we get all of our hardware back in. And this bolt goes in this hole right here. This is your stud. Your stud goes in this hole over here. We got to have that for the high pressure fuel pump cover to sit on. The high pressure fuel pump bolts here, and then the cover bolts here, and then there's 2 bolts on the side. There's one there and one down lower. So this is your mass airflow sensor, by the way. According to service information, that's your mass airflow sensor. So that's easy to change. You don't have to tear anything apart to get to that, but if you ever need to, there it is. Get our studs, get our bolts in here, and we'll go through. All right, we got 7.5 foot-pounds on our torque wrench. I ought to just ramp it up to 15, but 7.3 according to service data. So we'll start in the middle and go ahead and we'll get our initial torque done. There's that one. There's that one. And then there's this one. This one was loose, quite a bit loose. And there's that one. And this one was loose too. go ahead and just spin these in by hand. Get the ratchet on it. Alright, now we gotta tighten up our nuts here. And then we'll get our gotta get this bottom bolt in here. And that one's done. Alright. And let's see, then we gotta go over it in no particular order, so we'll start here. And we'll come back here. And we'll come over here. And we'll come up here. And we'll come down here, and we'll come up here, and we'll come down here, and we're torqued. Easy. Alright, now we need to hook up our high pressure fuel pump. So we need to find our gasket. Gasket goes, I'm going to bring you over here so you can see the high pressure fuel pump part of it. In case you didn't watch that video, we're going to do you again here. Alright, high pressure fuel pump. Gasket goes like this. Okay? And take your bolt, feed your bolt through. This gasket has a nice little feature on it that when you thread the bolt through, holds the gasket in place. Get your other bolt, feed it through the other side. These are 10 millimeter. Get a couple threads started. Alright, and then you want to set your pump in just like this. Line up your bolt holes and just kind of easy does it, push it in. Get your bolts started in your holes. Get a couple threads started. And then you get a couple threads started on this side. You want to make sure that your gasket doesn't get in the way. So you take a trim tool. You put your trim tool in here like that. And you slide your gasket back. You want to make sure that your bolts go in nice and loose. We're going to try to do it this way though. Make sure all your lines are free. Don't push this on all the way until you're 100% sure your bolts are going to fit. If you can thread them in by finger without it binding, you're in good shape. If you can't, then you need to get this situated till you can. Sometimes you gotta take the pump out, because this pump has an O-ring on it, so you gotta kind of work against the O-ring when you go to get it put back on. So what I do is I put a little bit of thread on here, and then this bottom screw usually goes in pretty easily. See, this bottom screw usually goes in really easy. You gotta get this top one in, so you gotta line it up, put the top screw in, get the top screw started. Once you get top screw started, the bottom screw usually doesn't. See, we got top screw started. Now you come over here and you get the bottom screw started. See that? Turn these in equally. Otherwise you're going to get binding. I think I went over this in the fuel pump video. Turn these in equally or you'll get binding. So you'll turn this one in a little bit and you'll kind of watch it from the top. And And then you'll come over here and you'll turn this side in a little bit. And then you'll come back over here and you'll do this again. And you're watching the equal distance between the O-ring. And then after the O-ring disappears, you're looking at the distance between the flange and the engine. You just go back and forth like this and you're going to walk it on. This is how you keep from stripping your head out. I don't feel like trying to put new threads in this thing. You get it down a little bit, and then you walk it on this side, and then you work this side down. And then when you get it all the way down to where it stops turning, that's when you put your torque on it. We're going to just snug them down. So we're going to torque those to 10 foot-pounds. I don't recall there ever being a torque spec for it, but we're going to give it one today. It's going to be 10 foot-pounds. Starting to look like a car again. And just come up here. And just double check your torque. Oh, we're good. We're torqued. Alright, then we got to put our shield back over it. So we got a shield that goes back on here. We'll put the shield on in just a minute. We got to tighten up our fuel line down here. You can't even see. We got to hook up our fuel line. Loosen up that ball right there. See, it's a ball fitting. So we got to loosen this one up on the top here. Get that one started on the bottom. And tighten that nut down. Sorry about the camera angles. I'm really crappy at this. I apologize. And then we tighten up our top fitting again. And that one's nice and tight. Come back down here and tighten this one back up. And of course we'll hit the switch a couple times and we'll prime it and make sure that we don't have any leaks. So we got our high pressure fuel pump reinstalled. We got a retaining bolt that goes down in here we got to put back in. That's this 10mm right here. Holds this down inside, holds it to the engine. Let's tighten that back down. Throw that down in there. We had our chain for this video. A little later than normal, but you know, it's his schedule, not mine. Okay, tighten that back down. Try not to drop our socket down on our engine there. Alright, we've got another line, which we will run here in a minute. We got to get our cover back over our fuel pump. So here's our fuel pump insulator. Goes over the pump like this. Wait a minute. Nope, goes like this. Goes like this. Alright, put this on this way. See, that goes down on that stud that we put in before. Put our side bolts back in over here. This is where your side bolts go in. And then these holes here are what these Christmas trees go into. We got some Christmas trees we got to put in down underneath too. We got a bolt we got to put back in underneath. This bolt right here that we took out, that goes down there for the dipstick tube. So we got to make sure we put the dipstick tube bolt back in. bolts back in, then we'll snug them up here in a minute. Alright, go ahead and tighten the hardware down. One of the good things about using a deep socket on this job is you can get around electrical with it. And when your fingers quit working, you can just put it in the ratchet and spin it. There's that one. There's that one. Gotta put our nut back down here on this one down here. And then in a minute we'll flip our heat shield back up, or our shroud here. We'll put our shroud back up, which will cover up all of our bolts. And we're gonna flip our shroud back up and around here. We gotta get it underneath everything. You gotta pull this bolt out. This bolt here attaches something. I'm trying to remember what it attaches. You gotta set that up there. Put that back around there. Okay. And then I'll show you where we're going next. We're going down there, right to that hole. That's what this bolt goes in. Holds our dipstick tube. So I'm going to try to do a balancing act here. I'm going to try to hold you guys with one leg here, and I'm going to put this bolt down in this hole right here. And that goes up like that, into that hole right there. Hold that up against the manifold while you thread this bolt in. And then once you get your bolt started, you can zip it down with the ratchet. See? See that? And that holds your dipstick tube to your engine. Make sure you get that nice and tight. I think it's just about there. Make sure that didn't, well, it's solid, so I guess we'll hold it like that. Alright, so let's see, we need to get our coolant line run back across, and then we can start putting our electrical back together. So our coolant line bolts up to this bolt hole right here with this T30 Torx screw. We gotta put our T30 Torx screw back in. So we'll get that done. Don't tighten this up all the way until you've got your lines ran the way they're supposed to be ran. Just get it snug down. Don't tighten it up until you're done. And then this is our coolant line that goes to our coolant recovery tank. We gotta plug in there, we gotta plug up here, we gotta plug over here, we gotta do. Got those done. Okay, and we gotta come over here. Gotta hook up our coolant line. So we'll take our pliers, zip our clamp back, pull it back to where we can get it on the car, and pull our clamp back over the barb. There we go. Be a pain in the back. And the thing about it is, it don't give you much room on this clamp. Just got to kind of wiggle it around. There it is. That part's done. Now we got some hoses to hook up. We got to hook up our fuel injector connector. That's what goes in this hole right here. That's our fuel injector connector. So we'll hook that up real quick. And then we'll start running some electrical. We'll hook up some hoses. We'll be about ready to hook the battery back up and see if this sucker will start. Now, anytime you work on a fuel system, you got to turn the key off and back on about 2 or 3 times to prime the system. Also, anytime you've unhooked any kind of fuel, you want to check for leaks. Don't attempt to start the car until you got all your leaks fixed, if you have any leaks. Alright, so we're not going to worry about that alternator connector right down there because it's actually supposed to go on the bottom of the manifold, and that piece broke off, so we don't have to worry about that. I got a throttle body hose right here. It's a vent hose. Got to plug that back in underneath the throttle body. That's manifold vacuum. If you don't hook that up, it won't run, period. And you want to make sure you get your manifold vacuum hooked back up. Grab your clamp and clamp it back down where it was, or as close to where it was as you can get it. This is an easy clamp to get, except for when it's not. Oh goodness. We gotta take our pliers here. We gotta get this clamp back down so we can get on it with our pliers. That's how you correct a clamp. Get your screwdriver and just grab on one of the ends to whichever end's messing up on you. So you're supposed to grab the clamp from the side, and sometimes I grab it dead on, and so when that happens, the clamp gets all screwed up. All right, that hose is on, and you can't see none of this. See, there's my hose. Okay, so we got this hose goes to that breather piece. We got some electrical we got to hook up. Okay, so this plugs into here. This is your fuel injector wiring. Clip that in, push that back. This goes, let me think, where did that go? I think that went to our high pressure fuel pump. Nope, it don't. This goes to our throttle body, which is down here. Oh, no, this goes to our map sensor, right back in here. That's our map sensor connector. Make sure that snaps on. All right, our high pressure fuel pump is right here. Our high pressure fuel pump's right here. Make sure that snaps back on. There, I heard it click, and that's already pushed in, so we're good there. We got a PCV hose we got to reconnect. That comes down underneath like that. Snaps on. All right, we can hook the battery up now so I can get in the trunk and get the rest of the hardware we need to finish this car up. So let's hook up our battery. Okay. A little bit of sizzle never hurt nobody. Tighten up your clamp here. Make sure your clamp's nice and tight. And here's the car cycling. All right, we're just about done here. Gotta put this big monster bear back on. All right, so we gotta set this down in here. We may have to do a relearn on our throttle body because it came disconnected from power. But if we do, we'll find out real quick. If we have to, then I'll do the relearn on it. If not, then we'll be fine. And you want to put your 2 clamp ends down first, and then you can come back through and hook your little hoses up later, like that one. And this one down here you probably can't see. that we've taken off before, so you know. And of course we got our clamp that wants to go crazy on us, so we got to make sure that we get that clamp done. Pull our clamp up, get it up around the bend. See, and then you want to rotate your clamp pliers until they won't rotate no more. Then you just want to reach around the back here and just kind of scoot this clamp on, about the best you can get anyway. And get this clamp on. There we go. There we go. Clamps on. And we got to go through and tighten up our 2 hose clamps. So let's go ahead and get that done. All right, let's cycle the key. Let's check for leaks and see if we can get you over here to if you see a leak, you can catch it on camera here. All right, so if it's going to leak, it's either going to leak from up here underneath the pressure, high pressure fuel pump side, or it's going to leak down there on the fuel rail. Let's prime the system. Alright, we prime the system. Let's check for leaks. And it looks like we're ready to start. Let's see if it'll run. Alright, let's check it out. As you can see, it didn't start. So I'm gonna turn the key on for a minute, and while it's doing that, I'm gonna go get my scan tool. All right, let's get our scan tool and let's come over here. Let's see what we can see over here. Yeah, it's gonna ding ding. We get the usual ding dings in here. All right, let's plug in our scan tool. Sometimes it won't start if we got to clear a code. Let's see if we can get you in here so you can see this. I don't know how well this is going to pick up on camera. Probably not very well. Alright. That's the code we came to fix. Fuel rail pressure low during engine cranking. Let's go ahead and clear our codes. See if we have 0 DTCs. Now we got a 420 code still and a 191 code. Those will go away over time. So let's see if we can pump our fuel rail up. All right, turn it off, turn it back on. There we go. There we go. Let's get some live data going here. These can be finicky at times, I'm telling you. Now let's see. We gotta let it smooth out a little bit, so. What we're looking at is fuel pressure. That right there is your in-tank pressure. And it's incorrectly reading RPM. Let's see here. I'm not worried about O2s right now. You gotta find our cats are warming up nicely. I gotta find the reading for your high pressure fuel pump. That's the one for your main pressure. There it is. Reading good, 545 psi at idle. Let's see if we can get it to come off idle. Just let it run a minute or two. Yeah, our high pressure fuel pump's responding like it's supposed to. Alright, let's get it over here to our in-tank pump. We want to check our in-tank pump. In-tank pump's running about 39 pounds, which is about right. Let's go ahead and run it up. And she's fluctuating slightly. We should be okay. So while this is running, let's go out and check our car. Sounds a little rough. Sounds like she's got a rod knocking. If it had rods. I don't think it's got push rods in it. It's lifter noise for you newbies. Unless that's just what a Ecotech sounds like with a high pressure fuel pump. Yeah, everything looks right. Yeah, let's see if she earns her top cover. Okay, so we've got a confirmed bad bottom O2 sensor, so I'm going to have to change that. We're not going to bore you with that in this video because that's not what this video is about. This video is about the ordeal you have to go through to get to that fuel rail pressure sensor. It's telling me fuel rail pressure sensor performance, which would be related to the fuel system, which would be anything from the tank to the pump in the tank to the high pressure fuel pump and everything that goes into the fuel rail. So it is quite possible that we have a bad high pressure fuel pump even though it's reading within spec. All I know is that we're dumping raw gas down into that brand new catalytic converter, and I'm not having that today. So we got to find out what's going on and what we got to do to fix it. That's a whole other day. But you were waiting for the bonus footage, so here's your bonus footage. This is the original O2 out of this car. That's the bottom side going into the exhaust system. This is the top. See all that sparkly right there? That's what's left of that top O2 sensor. That's the cage of the O2 sensor, what's left of it. And as you can see down inside there, it's destroyed the inside of this converter. So that's the outcome of the 0420 we had. We still have an 0420, but you gotta drive this car a few miles for that to go away. So that's gonna do it for this one. We'll catch you on the next one. And until then, I don't know. We'll see you next time.